everybody, it's Harry Colley here for the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and I'm here to provide instant reaction to the game that has just finished at Goodison Park, where it has finished Everton 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Everton's fourth win of the season this season in the Premier League. And after being in control for a large portion of that game, a very nervy last few minutes. It felt like forever, but eventually Everton hung on, and we're here to talk about Everton's 3-2 win over Spurs. David Moyes' first win since returning to Goodison Park as manager for his second spell. Now, lest we forget, it was only 8 days ago that David Moyes was confirmed as the Everton manager, replacing Sean Dyche. We then go into that game in midweek against Aston Villa at home, where we lose 1-0, and then coming into today's game against Spurs, even with Spurs' injury list, which the commentators told us so many times in that game, were in double figures, and also with their really bad run of form, things might not have gone that way. We have a horrible form and record against Tottenham. I said in the match preview that the last manager to win a Premier League game against Spurs at Goodison Park was David Moyes, and he's since been gone for 11 years. It's been 12 years since we won. We've ended that today, and let's start at the very beginning, shall we? And I feel like we're going to start off very positively, and it's going to maybe go in a slightly different direction as we go into it, but I'm going to try and keep the positivity high. So let's start with the team news, shall we? 2 changes for Sean Dyche. Wow, that, my friends, was a Freudian slip. 2 changes for David Moyes heading into his second game in charge. Jake O'Brien getting his full Premier League start, in for Ashley Young, who dropped to the bench, and Jesper Lindstrom coming in for Jack Harrison. Now, those 2 changes would prove to be quite key, because for me, and this is maybe going a little bit prematurely here, Lindstrom having his best game for Everton since joining from Napoli on loan. I thought he was creative. He was at the right end of a lot of great deliveries into the box for Everton. I think he was, allowed some freedom today that maybe he didn't feel he had under the previous administration, and it certainly showed. He actually was the first name that I wrote down in my notes today, because he had the first real chance for Everton, a shot from distance that was saved well by the Spurs goalkeeper in the first half. And then we really quickly get into goals for Everton, and we've not had to say that too many times this season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin ending a very long run of games without a goal. I believe that was 16 games where he hadn't scored previously for Everton. He ends that run today. He gets a great goal that he takes incredibly well. Lots of players around him. The ball fed into him with his back to goal. Manages to turn, dance his way through 2 or 3 players that are marking him quite closely. He gets away from them, releases his shot down low, and we get the goal. It's a great goal, great start for Everton. I felt the atmosphere inside Goodison really reflected the fact that we were trying to play creative and more attacking today. I think there were signs of that against Aston Villa. I know the result maybe led people to be a little bit more negative to the way that Moyes had set up and the way that the game went, but I thought today the crowd really rewarded the players for their efforts, and they were very loud, and it just felt like a much better atmosphere inside the ground today from where I was sitting and reporting anyway. So Calvert-Lewin puts us 1-0 up, and not too long after that, down the other end, Son, the much beloved Spurs captain amongst Everton fans, has an appeal for a penalty. It's very quickly waved away. I feel like Spurs had 2 or 3 in that game today where they were appealing quite hardly and strongly for a penalty that was not given. They weren't penalties. I didn't see any. Some looked clumsy, but upon closer review, fair enough, shoulder to shoulder, Son just going to ground, and fueling that love that the Everton fans have for him. And really in that first half, very little to talk about from a Spurs perspective other than their goalkeeper. He's obviously come in, he's been thrown into the deep end. He kept a clean sheet on his debut against Liverpool, and really Everton going in at 3-0, and I know we've not quite got there yet, spoiler alert, but the goalkeeper could have, without him, it could have been a lot more. It could have been 4, 5, maybe even 6 if Calvert-Lewin had taken another couple of chances that he had, and if the keeper wasn't there to make the saves in the big moments, that could have been Everton running away with it at half-time. And even with those saves, we really were out of sight at half-time. Let's talk a little bit about Iliman and Dye. My goodness, what a goal. He just seems to go from strength to strength. And again, this idea of being a bit more creative now under David Moyes, he seems to have a bit more freedom, like Lindstrom on the other side. He picks the ball up inside his own half and dances through the Spurs half of the pitch. He gets into the box so well. Couple of step overs, drops the shoulder, puts the shot past Kinski. It's 2-0. It's a wonderful goal. It's a breath of fresh air from what we've been seeing in recent weeks and months. And from not being able to score a goal to being 2-0 up, we then go after a very long stoppage for the injury to the defender. That maybe could have disrupted things. It could have maybe seen the half just peter out. We get a corner, the ball comes in, it's cleared. Lindstrom puts the ball back in, and an own goal from Archie Gray, who's quite unlucky, to be fair, but we don't care. As I said on X, who scored doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net. It's 3-0, and we go in at half time comfortable, and we come out for the second half also comfortable. There was a narrative when Richarlison was subbed on at half time of, my goodness, this could be one of those. It could be the Bournemouth game, it could be the Villa game, the Newcastle game in previous seasons where we've just been comfortable and then collapsed. And for a large part of the second half, we were still comfortable. Spurs did not create a lot. What they did create was not clinical. It wasn't good. And really, whilst Everton didn't have that many clear-cut chances of their own in the second half either, and it felt a much more contained second half than the first one, it looked like we were going to see this out for 3-0. And then Kulusevski pulls one back with about 15 minutes to go. The atmosphere in Goodison instantly changes, and that's something we should touch upon here. The fans today were great. They were singing at 3-0 up. Fantastic voice from the crowd today, an atmosphere that we've not seen inside Goodison for probably a year now, really. Maybe aside from the Merseyside derby win last season, but it's been a long time since we've seen and felt that kind of atmosphere. The fans breaking into song, the fans out singing the away supporters. It was a really good atmosphere inside the ground. But when they got that goal back, Spurs, and it's 3-1, the atmosphere instantly changes. But one thing I did note whilst live tweeting the game was there were a group of fans where the nervousness started to maybe sink in. It started to maybe seep through the stadium. There were a group of supporters there that were very keen to stamp that out. They started singing again. They tried to pick the volume up again, and the players responded to that. I think for sort of the next 5-10 minutes, we still looked to try and create as Moyes brought substitutes into the game and tried to settle things down. I think we still tried to push forward as opposed to sit back. And then really heading into stoppage time, we end up with Richarlison scoring a goal. So he scored 2 against us at Goodison last season. He scored 1 there now in his final game, unless he comes back at Goodison Park. And it's 3-2 heading into 4 minutes of stoppage time, which felt longer than the season altogether now. But we hung on. Pickford, I will say, there are some defensive fragility there. I think as we got later into the game, certain players looked tired. I think the tiredness is going to cost us. I think what we are going to have to look at in the upcoming games is just a way to play that new kind of attacking football that Moyes seems to want us to play, where we're pressing higher, we're slightly higher up the pitch, but a way that when we do drop off, when we don't have the ball, we don't look exhausted. And I think that'll come in time, bearing in mind, again, said at the start of this video, David Moyes has been there for 8 days. Some of his coaching staff didn't even come in until after the Aston Villa game. So it's a work in progress. He's having to do this on the job, no pre-season, change the style of play from something very negative to something much more positive. And for large periods of the 90 minutes today, that paid off. And ultimately, we win the game 3-2. And therefore it's vindicated. Whatever we say about the last 15 minutes, yes, it wasn't great. Yes, Pickford's maybe come out too rashly, but he also comes out rashly and claims the ball right at the end and settles things down, and we hold on to the 3 points. So that is it. That's Everton 3, Tottenham 2. For me, man of the match shouts, I think Lindstrom is up there. I think we were at our creative best and our attacking best when he was on the pitch. I think there were very few passengers in the game today. I thought Mykolenko looked strong. I thought Calvert-Lewin looked strong. I think the goal did his confidence the world of good. I really do think potentially Decore, not for man of the match, by the way, but in terms of passengers, I think at times Tarkowski looked very strong today. And then the substitutes, Patterson came on, he did okay. Ashley Young came on in a slightly more attacking position, looked really good at times as well, the brief cameo he had. So man of the match shouts, who do you think? I'm going to go for Lindstrom. Drop your man of the match shouts in the comment section below this video and let us know your thoughts on the game overall. But as I say, Goodison Park, it's finished Everton 3, Tottenham 2. Everton remain where they were in the table for now. They're 16th. They have their 4th win of the season. They're 4 points behind Tottenham in 15th, but we do have that game in hand, and we are 4 points clear of the relegation zone. Wolves and Ipswich, who both play this afternoon and tomorrow at the time of recording. So a win for Everton, a win for David Moyes. The transfer window's open, and let's see what happens. I've been Harry Colley. This is the Toffee Blues. Make sure you follow us, and bye for now.